Good morning, fellow financial planners. Thanks very much to the FPI for having us here today, for asking us to do this presentation on succession planning. What we realized as we were putting together this presentation is that this isn't really a talk about succession planning. This is a talk about business, your business, and where it's going. And what I'd like all of us to realize as leaders of this profession, of this industry, is that we need to start worrying about our business not in terms of how the revenue is growing, but how our business is growing. I'm going to take us back to a story we all know pretty well. The story about the printing press. Before the invention of the printing press, reproducing a book was an absolute nightmare of a project. I mean, you literally had to transcribe everything from one book to another book. It took an age. Invent the printing press, all of a sudden, a lot more could be done a lot quicker. What was this really? This was future-proofing the knowledge-sharing industry. The printing press was the beginning of future-proofing the knowledge-sharing industry. So future-proofing businesses, innovating on business models, has been around since the beginning of time. So almost 2 decades ago, we realized that the entire industry needed a bit of a shake-up. And to illustrate this, I'm going to take you to 2 businesses. The first business on the left-hand side sells one, earns one. The business on the right-hand side sells one and earns repeatedly. So let's play with this model and see what happens over time. The woman who sells one and earns repeatedly, let's say she sells a product that earns her 5,000 Rand month after month after month. And she does this every month in the year. Over the year, she would earn 390,000 Rand. And at the end of the first 12 months, her annual recurring revenue, or monthly recurring revenue, would be 60,000 Rand per month. For the man to keep up, what he's got to do is generate 390,000 with 12 sales that bring in 32,500 every single month in revenue. In our profession, we know that's possible. Let's run and roll on a bit. Let's look at year 5. In year 5, the woman's annual monthly recurring revenue has grown to 300,000 Rand. Her year revenue in year 5 would total 3.27 million. For the man to keep up, what he would have to do is sell a product that brings in revenue of 272,500 Rand every single month. It's becoming more and more difficult. Roll on to year 10 and it becomes very difficult, where the woman is now on 600,000 Rand in monthly recurring revenue. The revenue that she would earn in that year would total 6.8 million. For the man to keep up, 572,000 Rand every single month. Becomes a tougher and tougher ask. So which one is the better business model? Which is more future-proofed? Obviously, it's the one that the woman has adopted, which relies on monthly recurring revenue. The question is, are we treating our businesses the same way we are treating our revenue? In other words, is it worthwhile going to the effort of putting plans in place to make sure that the revenue from your business continues for life and you achieve a very high multiple of revenue, or are you happy accepting what everyone else gets, a low multiple of revenue for your life's work? So let's take a look at our profession, where there are generally 3 phases that an advisor transitions through. Your goals at the time probably dictate which phase you find yourself in. The first one is growth, where as an advisor, you're probably looking to grow your annual recurring revenue. You probably want to focus more on advice than doing administration, managing staff, looking after an accounts department, etc. And you're starting with the end in mind, whereby you'd like to build a business that becomes an asset for the rest of your life. In the retirement phase, you probably want to maintain your current lifestyle and at the same time stop advising clients. For all clients, you'd like them to be looked after because many of them have probably become friends over time. And because you built up a very large network, you'd probably like the flexibility to be able to leverage off that network and continue getting clients from that network, but feeding them into an ecosystem that you don't have to look after. In other words, clients coming in, but you don't have to give the advice to those clients. The final phase that we see most often is that of optimization, whereby advisors are looking to continue earning while focusing and advising their ideal clients. They'd also like to be spending a lot less time doing non-revenue generating activities, such as managing staff, HR departments, accounts, compliance, etc. And they'd also like to achieve a sell one, earn repeatedly type business valuation from their life's work. Over the past couple of decades, we've seen just about every single succession business model there is out there. What we've got in the next few slides are 4 of the most common ones. And what we're going to do is look at these business models and see how they stack up to advisor goals and objectives. The first business model is one whereby an IFA approaches another IFA and buys their business. And let's say they buy at a multiple of 2, so 2 times annual revenue. So if the advisor has annual recurring revenue of 1.2 million, the other advisor will buy for 2.4 million. And usually this is paid out over 4 tranches in month 0, 12, 24, 36. So it's not paid all at once. So to understand if this transaction meets the financial goals of the seller now becomes a financial planning discussion. So we've plugged the numbers into co-planning software that we use, WealthBit. And in WealthBit, we use the assumption that the income expected from the proceeds of the business sale needs to be around 20,000 after tax, increasing by inflation for the rest of this advisor's life. This would require a once-off capital sum of around 4.8 million to achieve. Now, realistic income from 2.4 million at age 65 in capital would be around 10,000 per month if the amount was paid up front. It's not being paid up front, it's been paid in 4 tranches. So taking a look at the 4 income events over the 36 months with 20,000 in income from the first month invested with this asset allocation, the capital is only likely to last until age 76. So there are pros and there are cons to this business model. The pros are that you have a capital valuation that is determined. Now, along with this, it's a con as well because the capital valuation simply isn't enough to meet the income requirements for most advisors. Another pro is that there is a full exit from the business. This can also be a con because many advisors have financial planning in their blood. They have their clients in their blood. They have networks that are very deep. And to have a hard stop becomes very, very difficult to fathom. The other problem is that the purchasing advisor usually has limited capacity. So let's say they're looking after 250 clients already. And you go to them and you say, well, please look after my clients as well. I've got 250. All of a sudden, their client base has doubled. Do they have double the capacity? No. They're still stuck with the same 24 hours in the day that we all have. So if we check this against our goals checklist, it doesn't actually meet any of the criteria for the retiring financial planner. So let's move on to business succession model 2. This is a very, very common business model whereby a large corporate comes in, acquires a portion of your business at a very attractive multiple, and in exchange for that portion, doesn't own that portion of the profits, they own that portion of the revenue. Yes, the revenue. So let's say they come in and they acquire 25% of your business. And let's say the margin in your business is 50%. In exchange for 25%, they would take 25% of the revenue or 50% of the profits. So I'm sure you're seeing the problem with this business model, but let's run through the pros versus cons table. And there are pros. Look, they often take care of compliance. So they take care of the compliance within your business. You also have the support of a big brother, which can be very important, but the cons outweigh the pros. In that often you're still responsible for managing the staff, for doing the accounts, for doing some of the bookkeeping, etc. You're responsible for the expenses within the business, but you don't have the same revenue within the business. So it becomes challenging. The balance of the equity also becomes very difficult to sell. You may now still own 75% of the actual business, but you don't own all of the profits. And very few acquirers would even look at that other 75%. There's also no solution in place for the long tail, where the long tail within your client that you've accumulated over time, which is starting to become profitable because those people are starting to retire, there's no value ascribed to them. The most critical problem with a model is that you lose your independence. And for many, this is just the final straw. So we don't rate this succession option that high, as it meets none of the goals for an optimizing wealth manager. Business model number 3 is better. In business model number 3, you join a large firm. That firm takes care of all of your administration, all of your compliance. They probably have offices you can work from. They also have many other advisors within the firm, one of which you can choose to take over your business at some point in time. And when this time happens, the firm usually helps finance the purchase of your business on the same sort of model as in option number 1. Let's take a look at some of the pros versus cons of this business model. There are quite a few pros in that all of your administration is taken care of. The handover can be gradual, you have the support of a big brother, and you have a guaranteed capital valuation. Unfortunately, once again, this capital valuation is probably very low and doesn't take into account the decades of long tail that you've built up where value is starting to be unlocked. Second of all, you lose your independence, and for many, this is a very big problem. So taking a look at this in our goals checklist, it actually does meet one box in that you will be spending less time doing non-revenue generating activities. It doesn't tick any of the other boxes though. Succession business model number 4, we see really often, and it really results in lots and lots of tears. It's one whereby you invite another advisor to come and join your firm, and often this advisor starts off with a small client base or no client base at all. And over time, you train this person up until they're at a level where you're very happy to hand over all of your clients. There are a few problems with this model. There are pros. But the pros are that the ongoing revenue can continue, and it can continue indefinitely if that's what you agree on. The handover can also be gradual, but the cons outweigh the pros massively. The revenue share is usually paid on your existing client base. It takes into account none of the future revenue from your existing clients. The advisor that comes into your business will probably agree to any revenue share, and what they do is they underestimate the cost of servicing your client base, so they overpromise. And ultimately, this results in low service delivery to your clients. The existing advisor, it often becomes more and more trapped to the business because you start managing the business itself, managing the advisor, and managing new staff you bring on to support this advisor. So we see this so often, and it just never ends well. Looking at the goals checklist, it does check one box, is that you have the flexibility to hand over time, and you can probably continue getting clients and handing those over to the new advisor. So what we can very clearly see is that none of the existing models actually are fit for purpose. And this is why I wrote the book, From Self-Employed to Business Owner, the Financial Advisor's Guide to Lifelong Income. We believe a fit-for-purpose business model is one where you are able to earn revenue from your clients, both existing and new business, for the rest of your life under the protection of a large, independent advice house that has a full back office, allowing more focused time with clients. Consistent client engagement process nationwide means that when you are ready to slow down, you can comfortably do so by triaging clients to a number of advisors around the country at your own pace. Let's look at the pros and the cons for succession model option 5. And there are quite a few pros. First of all, you get to earn that sell one, earn repeatedly type business valuation model. You have the support of a big brother, you can maintain your independence, and you don't have to hand all of your clients over at once. It can be a very phased and gradual approach. Lastly, you're able to earn on the future value within your client base. There are a few cons though, and one of them is that it relies on your clients being happy with the move. It relies on your clients maintaining that delighted view of your advice. It also requires a solid and large onboarding team from the business that you're joining. Taking a look at our goals checklist, this time every box is ticked. Whether you're looking to grow, retire, optimize, it is all taken care of. We've gone through these business models pretty quickly, a lot of information in a short space of time. To save you doing all the research, we've done it for you and put it inside this ebook, which you can download for free at gci.co.za/ebook. What you'll find as you go through the succession planning journey is that it is not easy. If anyone tells you it is easy, they are lying to you. But what is true is that at the end of the day, if it's done right, it is incredibly rewarding. As Oscar Wilde says, if a thing is worth doing, it's worth doing well. If it's worth having, it's worth waiting for. If it's worth attaining, it's worth fighting for. If it's worth experiencing, it's worth putting aside time for. So, what do you need? First of all, you need to start with the end in mind. Figure out where you want to get to before you start embarking on the journey. Second of all, you need a growth mindset. Even in retire, you need your legacy business to grow. Third of all, find the right partner. I can tell you within GCI, we've done this 35 times now. And the 3 that failed within GCI, where there was not that perfect match in the beginning. Fourthly, a transition team. Make sure the business you are joining has a transition team. Many hands do make light work. So, we've come to the end of our presentation. Before we leave each other, I'd like to leave you with 3 big questions. First of all, are you maximizing your time in your practice? Or are you finding yourself doing non-revenue generating activities that aren't bringing you either joy or enough money? Second of all, how much would you have to sell your business for now in order to replace just 25% of your revenue on a permanent basis? And third of all, whether you're looking to grow, optimize, or retire, are you putting plans in place to make sure that all those models continue on an indefinite basis? Ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of our time together today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it really useful. If you would like to download the ebook we discussed, please go to www.gci.co.za/ebook. And if you're interested in the software we used, please visit wealthbit.co. Enjoy the rest of today, and I'll see you tomorrow.